Hello and welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking the absolute foundational blocks of the very society we live in. I mean, we all watch the news, right? We read the articles, and we constantly hear words like state, government, democracy, and republic just thrown around. But if we're being completely honest with ourselves, we often mix these concepts up in our daily lives. We use them as if they all mean the exact same thing. Well, let's dive into this and demystify these fundamental concepts once and for all so we can build a crystal clear understanding of the political framework that literally surrounds us. To kick things off, think about this quote from the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates. He once said, "The greatest punishment for being unwilling to rule is being ruled by someone worse than oneself." I absolutely love starting with this because it's a slightly provocative hook, isn't it? But it emphasizes exactly why understanding this topic is so vital. If we don't understand the machinery of our own society, we essentially give up our power to shape it. Understanding these concepts isn't just for political science students. It's practically the ultimate owner's manual for being a citizen.
So, here is our agenda for this explainer. First, clearing up political confusion. Second, anatomy of a state. Third, the role of government. Fourth, state versus government. Fifth, democracy versus republic. And finally, the democratic republic.
All right, let's get into Section 1, clearing up political confusion. Moving right along to Section 2, anatomy of a state.
So, we have a bit of an everyday communication problem. We constantly say things like, the state decided this, or the government did that, treating them as exact synonyms. But it's time to separate them, starting with the absolute largest container of our society. A state, or a nation, is a political organization that has the authority to govern a defined territory and its population. The crucial point here is that we're talking about a sovereign nation as a whole, like the Indian state or the American state. We aren't just talking about subnational regional units, like the state of Maharashtra or the state of Kerala. We mean the whole overarching entity. Now, there are 4 absolute non-negotiable pillars that must exist for a state to actually be a state. First, you need people, which is a permanent population living together, not just tourists passing through. Second, you need land. Third, you need a government to run things. And finally, you need sovereignty. If even one of these 4 pillars is missing, you simply do not have a state. You might hear that land requirement and ask, as curious students often do, what exactly is a geographically defined territory? I mean, is it just having some mountains and rivers? Well, not exactly. A defined territory isn't just about physical geography, it's about boundaries. And those boundaries are essentially invisible lines agreed upon by neighboring states that officially separate them from one another. And then there's that 4th pillar, sovereignty. Sovereignty is the ultimate independence of a state to run its own internal affairs. It means the state has the full power to make its own laws and decisions without any outside boss telling it what to do. Basically, no external body can legally interfere in how that state manages its own backyard. Let's move to Section 3, the role of government. If the state is the entire vehicle, well, the government is the engine. It's a group of people or a system that actively runs the country. It's the part of the state we actually interact with on a daily basis. And it does this through 3 main functions: a legislature that makes the laws, an executive branch that enforces those laws and implements policies, and a judiciary that resolves disputes and ensures the laws are followed fairly. Take the Parliament of India, for example. This imposing structure is exactly where the legislature works. It's where elected representatives debate, draft, and pass the specific laws that will ultimately govern the entire state. It's the literal building where the making laws part of the government definition actually happens in real time. Section 4, state versus government. Honestly, the best way to think about the difference between these two is through an analogy. The state is like a permanent school. The government, that's like the principal and the teachers. The teachers and the principal will inevitably change over the years, right? They're elected, they serve their term, and they leave. But the school itself, the institution, the permanent population of students in the campus, that remains. The government acts on behalf of the state, but it is just a temporary, replaceable part of the much larger, permanent state. All right, Section 5, democracy versus republic. First, let's look at democracy. The word literally comes from the Greek demos, meaning people, and kratos, meaning rule. It is rule by the people. In a democracy, the citizens hold the ultimate power to choose their government through free and fair elections. The core logic here is that the majority rules. Whatever the majority of the people want, goes. It's an incredibly empowering concept. But there is a hidden danger to unchecked majority rule. This is what political scientists call the dominance of the majority. Think about it. If 51% of the people vote to completely take away the rights of the other 49%, in a pure democracy, they theoretically could. Imagine a big fish representing those majority interests, unfairly pursuing its own goals and devouring the little fish, hurting minority rights. So, how do we stop the big fish?
Well, we stop the big fish with a republic. A republic is a form of government where the head of state is elected, meaning power isn't just inherited by a king or queen, but crucially, the powers of the government are strictly limited by a constitution. The republic is the safety brake. It establishes a rule of law that is far more powerful than the temporary wishes of the majority.
To put them side by side, democracy is about empowering the majority to make decisions and elect leaders. But a republic is about using a constitution to ensure those decisions never violate anyone's fundamental rights. A pure democracy asks, what do most people want? A republic says, it doesn't matter what most people want if it violates the basic constitutional rights of even a single citizen.
And finally, Section 6, the Democratic Republic.
So here's the really cool part. A country can actually be both. Nations like India and the United States are democratic republics. They give power to the people to choose their leaders. That's the democracy part. But they also have strict constitutions that limit what those leaders can do to protect fundamental rights, and that's the republic part. Contrast this with the United Kingdom, which is a democracy because people vote, but it is not a republic because its head of state is a monarch who inherited the position.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a little thought experiment. Imagine you're part of your school student council, which kind of works like a mini government. If that council makes all the rules for the student body, do you think it would be better if the council president alone made every single decision? Or should that power be strictly limited and shared according to a set of rules? By answering that question for yourself, you are applying the very logic of a republic to your own everyday life. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the structures around